Let's now talk about some important features of South Asian Englishes. Kachru, who is a renowned Indian scholar and applied linguist, he identifies some important features in the sphere of phonology and grammar of South Asian Englishes. And he tells that South Asian Englishes are different from those varieties which are spoken in other parts of the world because of these features. And there are only few which have been recorded. If we look at the actual use of various Englishes spoken in these regions, there could be multiple differences. In phonology, there are many segmental qualities which make South Asian Englishes different from other varieties of English language. For example, diphthongs are spoken as normal vowels instead of their difference which is found in native varieties from short vowels or other vowels. We do not find that difference in South Asian varieties most of the times. The distinction between tense and lax vowels is also blurred here. Sometimes it doesn't exist in some sub-varieties of South Asian Englishes. For example, the difference between deep and dip, as well as between seat and sit, or boot versus book, they are not very prominent in the languages or the varieties of English language spoken in subcontinent. Hindi and Urdu speakers of English or the various varieties of English may also speak sport as a sport, because their native languages, local languages, do have this initial sound in their own languages. So the sounds are quite simplified by inserting an epenthetic vowel in the beginning. Such variations has emerged in the local varieties spoken in South Asian regions. In grammar, we can see that the distribution of articles still remains an open question, because we do not see them being used in most of local or regional languages in South Asia. Therefore, when the people of this area use English language, they are most likely to miss or omit the use of articles. And as a teacher, we know that one of the most common mistakes committed by our students are related to the use of articles in their written scripts. Reduplication is also a common feature in South Asian Englishes. For example, cut it into small pieces, and this is because of that translation process which goes through our mind, and we want to make it look like our own regional languages. And then the use of tags like yes, no, or isn't it is also very common in South Asian varieties. Idioms and metaphors are translated word by word in English language from the local languages. For example, we eat their salt. We call this in Urdu, हमने उनका नमक खाया है. That shows a kind of loyalty to the person. But when we translate it to English language, word by word, we say we eat their salt. And this is the meaning which a native speaker living in inner circle may not be able to understand. If he reads this phrase in English, we eat his salt or their salt, he may not be able to get the cultural meanings which are associated with this in South Asian regions. And as long as we eat it, we will remain loyal. This is what completes the meaning. So there is a tendency that local metaphors or idioms may be translated into the local varieties of English as they are understood in the regional languages. So most of the time translation is word by word. Lexicon or the vocabulary seeks most attention because this is understood by those who even do not know much about linguistics. The lexical innovation is something which is noticed by everyone. And the use of English words or the local words in South Asian English is very common. For example, the word chit for a note or a letter, and the word tiffin for a snack or buggy for a carriage are very common. There are some formations which are made out of English words, but they have a local or regional touch. For example, the word upliftment and the word botheration. They are not common in native varieties of English language, or they may be considered as an error there, but they are used in the local South Asian varieties of English. In discourse, there is also a variety and different use of English in South Asian regions. For example, the manners or the rules or conventions of conversational interaction and the issues of politeness, they are characteristic of South Asian regional languages. How we bring in politeness in our own languages, we try to repeat that in English language as well. In this regard, we could see that in case of both partial agreement and disagreement, the preferred sequence would be yes and then but. So, this is how we bring in politeness in South Asian languages as well. So, the norms of the pragmatic norms of discourse or interaction belong to the local languages or local values, and they are translated or replicated in the use of English language also. Attitude towards the South Asian Englishes or English in South Asia are also an important concern in the understanding of South Asian varieties of English language. People in South Asia are divided about English in the same fashion as they are divided about their own languages. There is a lot of political disagreement in this regard. I have already hinted about it. We can note down three common and important categories of the views about English language. First, and the dominant view, is that this language may be seen as a marker of the westernization or the progress of the society, and by learning this language, people can make them technologically advanced and can make their personal and collective life more valuable in terms of worldly progress. Then the second and exactly opposite view is of the absolute rejection of this language, because when we further this argument, or the people who further this argument, they say that this may be considered as a threat to local languages, as a threat to the identity of the people who speak it. We also have a neutral position which do not deny English altogether. They say that English may be used as a foreign language for international communication, and but not at the cost of a local language. It should not be put in the competition with local languages.